what's up, everybody, including Lottie Dottie? It's your boy, Retro, with you on today. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. And, please forgive us because what we really should have had on tonight, we should have had some Luther in the background. What you think?
Oh, good.
Sounds good. Okay, so tonight, ladies and gentlemen, what we want you to do, what we need for you to do is to just go ahead and press the share button. We told you last week we're gonna be talking about it. That taboo word, three-letter word, SEXX. We're talking about it, and so that's what tonight's show is going to be about. We're going to be talking about sex, pleasure, taboo, and everything in between. So I don't know exactly where this is going to go. It all depends on your participation and how much you want to discuss about that word. Facebook user, good evening, my good family. Hey, what's going on? Now, if you would go up to the description, you know what? I didn't put it in this one description. If you go up, if you're watching from the What's Love app or What's Love group on Facebook, scroll up to last week's or one of the previous posts. It has a link that you can click on that gives ECAN, which is the platform we use, the opportunity or the ability to read your name. That way, when you comment, it'll show your avatar as well as your what you call that thing, thingamajig, your name. Let me see if I can find it real quick and then go ahead and post it in the thing here. Lady McIver, what you got to say on tonight? Talk to the people.
Good night, y'all. Welcome. Yeah, the taboo word. That's what we're gonna discuss. Like he said, not sure how deep we're gonna dig into it, but we're gonna see. Maybe we'll stay on the surface.
We might only get to the tip. We might not get further than
that's it.
Pun intended.
But we'll see.
Was that funny or was that was the thing?
No, this is what we're talking about. Okay. See, this is the thing.
Okay.
Exactly.
Good thing. India, okay, how you doing? Ladies and gentlemen, let's make some noise for India in the building on tonight.
Hey, India, hostess, how you doing?
So where were we at? Last week we were talking about jumping the broom, wasn't that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we talked about jumping the broom and, and also we have to realize that, let's see here. Oh, no, it is in there. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, if you just look at the post where you press play at, you'll see it says ecam.live/2cc279. If you hover over that with your mouse, then it will, it's a link. And I don't know how it works if you're watching from your phone, though. But that's what you need to do. And then that way, you will just tell Ecamm, yes, you give them permission. And Michelle Bess, what's going on? Good morning. Oh, listen to me. Good morning. Good evening to you. And thank you for joining.
Hey.
In the meantime, I guess we'll just try to monitor it here on Facebook. So let's jump right into it. So last week we talked about jumping the broom, and you have a lot of people who are getting married. Specifically now, we came to this portion of the discussion because primarily or more specifically, I think the conversation came about through church or because of church.
Right.
And the church world is very interesting, to say the least, in my humble opinion. But I do believe that in the church setting, there is not enough conversation about sex. However, everybody's having it. Yeah. Because, there was only one that I knew that had an immaculate birth, and that was Mary. And what do you think is one of the misconceptions about sex?
I think in the church, they think if you talk about it, you're validating the fact that it's okay for them to do it. Right? And if you don't talk about it, then those that are doing it and want to stop, then they don't, because there's no reasoning to why I'm not doing this. But if I talk about it, then they probably thinking that, I'm giving them the green light to go and do it. But no, it's called education on why we're doing this or why we're not doing this or why we're going to wait or why, you shouldn't or what have you. So
let me just say that's a powerful point out the gate. That's a powerful point. So you said that if they talk about it, then they feel as though they're validating.
Exactly.
But however, whether you talk about it or not,
they're still doing it.
are there.
Exactly.
And I think one of the worst things for us growing up was um, we learned sex from talking to folk who didn't know about sex. Your little friends, your little peers who really didn't know much, and ooh, if you kiss, you're gonna get pregnant, or
And yeah, and it's the same thing even in a household when parents doesn't talk up to their child about sex, and then their child get pregnant. Only thing you hear is keep your little legs closed. Don't come in my house pregnant, and so on and so forth. But you're not explaining how is it that I get pregnant. Okay, I'm gonna keep my legs closed, but what that really means, mom. Or people think, okay, you could, if you do it one time, you don't get pregnant or what have you, so not having education on the whole sex thing that's what's killing us, not only in our houses but in God's house as well.
So we're gonna need you guys to talk to us on tonight. So if you don't mind, I'd like for you to put in the comment section what was the most misconception you had about sex, or because like you said, there's so many things that we're told and that we believe. So I would like to hear from some of the viewers tonight. We have Tamara watching with us tonight from Facebook.
Hey, Tamara.
Thank you for pressing play and joining the conversation.
Good to see you tonight.
I think also we have to, and I'm kind of getting off topic a little bit in terms of specific to the church, but we'll rally back. A lot of times we think that our experience is automatically going to be our children's experience,
right?
And so we guide them or misguide them based on our own personal experiences,
right?
And I think we have to be careful there. I think that it is healthy to have the conversation, because if you're not teaching them, somebody will be,
right? And then they're going to teach them the wrong way,
or
the wrong things, and then they're going to be like, well, nobody said nothing to me, and this is the closest to explanation that I've gotten from church or home, so I think this might be right, thinking about their peers telling them what to do or what not to do. So
there are some people, because you have let's see who this is. India. Okay, so India, she says there was no conversation. It was always, don't be fast, and you better not do this or that. True indeed.
Right.
And what that does is in some cases it demonizes an emotion that God strategically placed in us.
Right.
And if done the proper way, it is a beautiful thing. Okay. I want to be careful here, because when I say
not done, but spoken or discussed.
Yeah, because so marriage, let's say for instance, marriage, in my opinion, and my wife is sitting here, she may have a different point of view, but in my opinion, sex, I don't know how you want to say it, but it's a very important part of the relationship, of the marriage,
right.
And but nevertheless, when it's done the right way in terms of making a covenant with your spouse, it literally is, it's a beautiful thing. And so there is the physical, or the physical, if you will. There is the emotional,
right?
There's the spiritual. Because we learn through the church, and even through scripture, if you will.
And there's also the baggage.
Well, see, that's where I'm going with the spiritual part of it. Now, a lot of times when we hear the word spiritual, we automatically think God and things that are godly, but the devil is a spirit too. So when we talk about the spiritual side of sex, you'll mess around and you'll be craving things, or you'll be craving certain kind of sex because of the spiritual encounter that you had with the previous person. I heard something the other day. Let's see here. Bernie, God bless you, sir. Thank you for joining the conversation on tonight. And this gentleman said that a man should not get married until he is at least 35, have slept with at least 50 women,
wow,
and has at least $100,000 in the bank. True story. That is exactly what he said, babe. Before I dig in it, what's your take on that?
Absolutely ridiculous.
Okay, why?
First of all, so then you're trying out all these people, right? That's one criteria, I guess. Then the next thing is then you have to have 100,000 in the bank. And then what's the other one?
He said that you need to have at least slept with 50 women,
And then you have to be
and you have
35.
to at least be 35 years old.
Okay, so then you're gonna wait till you're 35. You already found, say hypothetically speaking, you found somebody when you're 30 and not 35, but you're gonna sit there and wait till you're 35. How you know they're gonna wait for you? That's one thing. Let's not even talk about the whole 35 people that you're supposed to sleep with.
50.
Well, 50 people you're supposed to sleep with, and then the 100,000 in the bank, right? Let's just deal with just your age 35.
Okay.
So you find someone that you're at age 30, but because you're not 35, then do you think they're gonna wait for you 5 more years, or they're gonna move on? That alone is like, you can't put a limit on when you find love to say that you're going to go get married.
I agree. I mean, shoot, we were 19 when we got married, 15 when we met, and right out the gate, we already knew that we were, a serious
right
item,
So then 35 and then 50 people you slept with. Now you got all this baggage, not to mention if you end up having to get someone pregnant, how many, like she said, India, how many soul ties is that?
And that's where I was going. Okay, so that's the spiritual
or not
side.
even soul ties, because I was looking at and doing some research and some things on that. It's not even soul ties, believe it or not. That's flesh ties, right? Because it's in your flesh. I don't think so more it goes into your soul, but it's in your flesh. That's why I think maybe Paul was saying there is a war in my member, in his flesh. He might have had some things he had to be dealing with.
Ain't no telling, but I do believe that it can be deeper than just a flesh tie. I do believe it can be a soul tie.
Oh, it could be a soul tie as well.
And so to go back to what India was.
But you got to get your flesh under control, though, so that it can loose your soul.
Let me see here.
You can sleep with 11 people all you want, but if you have a soul tie, but if your flesh ain't under control, how you gonna get your soul tie or get that under wraps? You got to get your flesh under wraps first, and then you can deal with your soul, because then you're still having that war in your member because your flesh is still weak. Or are you thinking it's your soul that's weak, that's causing your flesh to
No. Okay, so yeah, the flesh is weak.
Okay.
Right? You have to address the fleshly side of things. But if you don't address the fleshly side of things, it can be a whole lot deeper than just your flesh. It could be a soul tie, more along the lines of where it's almost like, it's got you wrapped up and tangled up. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I think that you have to be careful talking about some 50 folk before you. Now, by the time you find the right one, you done got all these other folk that's all
exactly, absolutely,
and can potentially ruin your God thing.
And not only your this is deep tonight.
It's deep. What's up, Pedal? It says,
hey, Pedal.
Sex you share bodily fluids that contain your DNA. That's why God tells you to become
one flesh,
mind, who you're joining yourself to. I couldn't agree anymore. It is so true. We learn sex wrong from the beginning.
From the beginning, or it wasn't taught. Let's talk about that. Well, it wasn't taught.
Well, yeah, so it wasn't taught, therefore we learned it
wrong.
Correctly.
Yep.
Because whatever you know about sex, even though it wasn't taught to you, you learned it. Whether it was from a Playboy magazine, whether it was from a Blue movie, or whatever.
Right.
And so now you have learned it the incorrect way. And for a lot of people that come into the church world, right, let's just be real about it.
Mm-hmm.
You was probably hitting some skins before you got to church.
Doing whatever you want to.
You were doing whatever you want
whatever you want to.
Who you wanted to, when you wanted to, how you want, all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Right? And so now you get into the church, and now you have to relearn what manhood is all about, let alone, the whole sexual...
Or being a virtuous woman.
That part right there. I didn't know that flesh ties versus soul ties. Okay. So I know I'm kind of being a little distracted here with the comments, but thank you guys anyway. Keep the comments coming. A flesh tie is more of a desire, and a soul tie, for a lack of better explanation, and this is just me trying to make it real simple here. A flesh tie is just in your flesh, is what you want, it's your own lust, and a soul tie is more of an addiction, so to speak.
But I'm not gonna debate on that
Okay.
because I don't got my notes, y'all. I ain't got my notes. But I'm telling you, it goes deeper than just saying it's a soul tie. The flesh tie of it is very, 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 very important. But on next go around, I'll have my notes so
Okay,
I can
all right.
so we can
So
dig
we're
deeper.
gonna have part 2.
So we can dig
Or should I
deeper.
say round 2?
Exactly.
So ladies and gentlemen,
so
you
we
heard it
can
tonight.
dig
We're gonna
deeper.
have round 2 of the whole sex discussion when wifey
Soul
and her notes.
soul tie
Soul
versus
tie versus flesh tie.
because how can you? I mean, it can be in your soul, but how can your soul belongs to God? So I think maybe I'm thinking way outside of the box when we saying soul tie versus flesh tie, right? Because our soul belongs to God. We can't snatch our soul to say that this is belong because it's sexual.
So if we're talking a soul tie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our soul belongs to God. I get that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But our soul is tied up. We didn't get tangled up in this thing as a result of our flesh. Okay.
So we got to deal with the flesh.
That's
why we got to we got to deal with the flesh first. We got to get the flesh under subjection.
I would agree.
And then we're gonna deal with the soul that's being tied up. If we don't deal with,
hold on now. I don't know if I'm gonna right there. Let's check it out, right? Now let's just say, right, that
I think we're digging too deep. Maybe we need to just go with what we going with.
Sex is for marriage, for 2 whole people. I agree with that.
Absolutely.
I agree with that indeed. Let's see here. Soul is emotions, intellect. That's pretty deep. I think that was pedo.
Mm-hmm.
That's deep, man. Let's star that, and we'll come back to that. Let's see here. Tony Hicks is in the building, ladies and gentlemen. Let's make some noise for Tony Hicks.
Hey Tony, how you doing?
All right, let's see here. Bada boom, bada bang.
And Tamir, that's what we're talking about. We're definitely talking about sex being for marriage people, yes, but talking about why don't we talk about it in church? Even though, we have the single ministry and all this, that, and the third. I mean, do they discuss that? Because I'm no longer single, but do they discuss that in that single meeting and say, hey, this is the reason why we're holding ourselves back until we meet the spouse or the person that God intended for us, or our soulmate, or however we want to classify it. Do they teach this to say this is why, or versus just saying, okay, we just got to stay holy until God thinks? It got to be more, especially when you're dealing with youth. Say, for instance, you're not in that space where you're ready to get married, but you're a teenager, you're a preteen, and everybody in school is doing it. How do we deal with that in the setting of in the church? Do we just disregard it and just be like, oh, okay, it's just your flesh, you'll get over it when you get married, then you can have it? It's like we have to discuss that. So,
and that's another thing. Sometimes we want to throw them into marriage so that they don't,
right?
Because they say it's better married than to burn. But again, I don't think that's necessarily the right approach all the time. So you have the whole thing with the school and their, what they're used to, and now they're in the church, and if we don't talk about it, it's just dangerous, man. It's just dangerous. Can we go back to the soul tie thing for a minute?
Well, let's see what Tony said.
What did she say?
I don't know. Up top.
Oh yeah. So this was a good point that Tony brought up. Okay. And so, and of course, I think that what prompted this conversation, I think is not the same situation as what Tony. Are you serious right now?
Yes, and figured out I was living right with my children, father. Life as we were married, had to learn how hard to find and open my eyes. It's hindrance a lot of young people, ladies, man, who came across in the street.
So let's look at that. So you have a young lady who comes into the church from off the streets. She's living with her baby father,
boyfriend, sometimes,
or boyfriend, or whatever the case may be, and before Christ, there's nothing wrong with that, and the eyes of society,
right,
but now here you are, you gotten saved, but yet you still are tied to this man, right? And so in a situation like that, it doesn't always have to be a flesh thing per se. So I'm not, I'm still with him, because I love him. I'm connected to him. He's a part of me. It's not because my flesh is burning me. It's because we have developed a life together.
Right.
And so we're looking more at a soul tie. It's not like the good vitamin D has got you going back every night. It's just that, you are just, it's
connected, like
knit
Petal said
together.
earlier, what emotional intellect.
And so, then when a lot of progressive churches are talking about it, okay, that's good. That's good. A lot of progressive churches are talking about it, and you know why a lot of progressive churches are talking about it? Because they are products of churches that wouldn't talk about it once upon a time.
Exactly.
And so they experienced it firsthand, the effects of not talking about it. And that is one of the beauties in churches, or I should say people growing up and then becoming leaders in churches, because now they know firsthand how important it is to talk about XYZ.
Right.
No, we have to teach it. Everybody should have a young adult ministry that teaches it. And I would agree with that.
Absolutely.
Certainly will. I have real. Okay, we got some pretty good conversations coming in here. Hey, family, I think that's Denise tuning in.
Hey, Denise.
Have real testimonial conversation with biblical viewpoints. Now, I like that, Tamira. I really like that right there. It's one thing to tell young people you shouldn't have sex. Now, if you're going to tell them not to have sex, I think you should give them some examples as to why not. And I think that's where the testimonials come in. And it ought not only be testimonies of pregnancy.
Exactly.
It ought to be testimonies of, we had a lady come speak to the church one time many years ago. She was with a guy, and she got HIV, she got AIDS.
Right.
And she came in, she told her story.
Exactly.
And I think those are statistics that need to be taught in the church as well, especially if we're dealing with youth ministries or shoot, it don't even got to be youth ministries the way things is now, because Granny active now. Right. She looking for her bishop. And so we've got to have these conversations.
We do. And, absolutely.
So
I can't see nothing on my thing. It's not. Yeah.
All right. So let's see here. We have to teach the individuals. If babe, I tell you. Okay, so your heart has to come under conviction. If we don't show them, they will never understand and hinder their own selves. Okay, so I'm thinking that when you have that type of situation, I think we're dealing more so with a soul tie. Versus just, because a flesh tie is your desire for it. You want it, and generally speaking, they say, men are attracted, because of what they see.
Yeah, visual,
whereas women, it's a different situation.
It's emotional.
It's more emotional, which is more deep in my opinion. But we're not.
Well, these days you don't even know. I mean, it's different. Yeah.
A lot of things are different nowadays. True story. But yeah, so part 2 or round 2 is definitely going to be on the books, ladies and gentlemen.
This is a great conversation. The Bible says people perish because of lack of knowledge. Absolutely.
And check this out. And this is what I like about discussion, because even when it comes to youth ministry, sex and all that stuff, and y'all bear with us, we got a little technical difficulty. And go figure when we're having such a conversation. Let's see if this is going to... No?
There it is.
Okay.
It's there.
Okay, so it looks like mine died as well. Second camera died as well. So, all right. So anyway, we may not have all the answers as to what it's going to take to keep our teens or keep our youth or our young adult from fornicating all over the church and all throughout the city. But that should still not stop us from at least still engaging in the conversation. You got to take the mystique out of the whole scenario. Case in point, I hope this can apply, and I hope you understand the point that I'm trying to make here. But when my kids were young, I want to say probably Shaquan might have been 10 or 11 maybe, somewhere around there. I took them to the gun range. Because I can remember as a young person growing up, how, the whole lure to guns was was something, and so I took them so that way I took them number one to the gun range. I showed them gun safety, let them fire the gun, both of them, and they both did real good. I had some questions after that, but anyway, because what I was endeavoring to do was remove any lure or unchecked excitement about it that some
Or
other
curiosity.
kid. That's the word,
Right,
baby.
curiosity.
Curiosity. Because as they say, the curiosity killed the cat.
Hmm.
And so that was my approach, and I think the same thing can apply to sex and topics pertaining to sex. The flesh tie is more, I just want the sex act, or
Soul ties, I need to have sex with a specific person.
okay, that's a perspective. That's a perspective. Okay, I can rock along with that. The knowledge of soul ties and deliverance, bada boom, bada bang, has to be in the conversation too, so they can be set free. They have to rise up and say, it stops here at my bloodline. Okay, absolutely, absolutely. So when dealing with a soul tie and a flesh tie, does one have to come before the other? And I was going to say earlier that I believe there are some soul ties that can be addressed, and then the flesh tie can be addressed after. Or you think differently?
Say it again.
Okay, so if a person has a soul tie, right? Well, I guess if we're looking at this, the soul tie and the flesh tie are two different things. So you can't treat one the same way you treat the other.
No.
So
can't.
okay, so we'll just leave it
Yeah.
at that.
Yeah.
I'm going to study about the difference between soul ties and flesh ties. Now, if we approach our young people with the same way we just talked about this,
They ain't gonna hear us.
but we can get somewhere.
We can get somewhere.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we can get somewhere.
Absolutely.
Because even like I was saying in today's service today, sometimes the most important thing is learning what not to do. Might not know what to do, but we also have to know what not to do. And so we might not have all the answers, but we know what we ain't gonna do.
And sometimes that's what all being said in church, though. At least from my point of view, growing up in church, is what you're not gonna do, what you're not gonna do. Okay, so tell me what I'm not gonna do. You just saying that, but you're not telling me what am I not going to do to prevent for me to get pregnant, lured, AIDS, STDs, X, Y, Z.
Well, in this case, what we're not gonna do is ignore it. What we're not going to do is we're not going to just, act like it doesn't exist. I mean, once that child gets a certain age, you already know that the hormones, they don't woke up. They don't woke up.
And then once you tell them what not to do, and then they go ahead and do whatever they want to do, then you know that you're clear from that, because you already, told them what to do. And if they continue and do whatever they want to do, then that's on them. But they're not ignorant, going into this thing ignorant.
True.
And that's what we're talking about, not being ignorant to this whole sex thing, because we can't talk about it in church or discuss it even as married people in church. It's still, you can't even talk about that. It's like, it's not like you're sitting here going to be talking about it to swap stories of what you're doing in your bedroom. But as married people, we should be able to learn from others by mistake, not talking about sexual, but different things that probably can, help you in your marriage.
So, how important is the conversation of sex in the marriage?
It's very important.
But we married and it's illegal, and we can just do the dugga and just bend over and give it to you.
It's very important. It's very important to discuss that, because once again, say I come from a family that we didn't discuss sexual things, and then you have something, you're very versed in that area, and then I come and then I'm like, oh no, don't kiss me on my neck, because they said if I kiss you on my neck, I'm gonna get pregnant. We want to wait 2 years. Then now you got all kinds of issues in your marriage. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Sheldon.
I'm here.
Okay. Okay.
But in all seriousness, I think that the conversation among
It's important.
It's very important on several levels. Number
Even
one,
before you go.
even before you get married, you might want to know what kind of desires that your mate has. Maybe what is he used to, and what is she used to.
Exactly.
Because like you said, you might come in that thing wanting to swing from chandelier.
Exactly.
And and she might not be ready for that, and now you feeling rejected because
Exactly.
she ain't ready for what you used to, and
Exactly.
what you used to was a result of all kind of foolishness.
Or how you were taught, how somebody teach you, your peers, or
Yeah.
what you done seen in a magazine and thinking this is the way it's supposed to go in real life, and it don't.
Yep. So if you think that, because see, I think that a lot of times we have one of the problems we have in relationships is we're married now, so it's legal, right? And so we supposed to have sex whenever we want to have sex, and I'm not here to talk about anybody's sexual schedule,
Right.
But the thing that we miss a lot of times, we have sex, but do we have romance? And
that's a whole different topic.
That's why I'm saying the conversation needs to be had.
Yeah, that's a whole nother
I think
topic.
one of the reasons why a lot of people can miss out on romance in their relationships is because they're not on the same page. I'm feeling rejected because you won't let me swing from the chandeliers. But if we'd have had the conversation, then I would have understood, the reason why you ain't. And so I think a lot of times it's not rejection.
Wow.
It's just a lack of conversation, so that you can understand each other's not so much sexual desires, but sexual desires.
Absolutely.
And now here you thinking, good Lord, he just like a rabbit. He just wanted every single second, And but the more conversation you have, there's give and take, and there's understanding, and so on and so forth. So
absolutely.
Seems like, okay, let's see. I think we already got that one.
I think this is Dora Max.
I waited to tell my kid in the school, ended up telling them things that I wasn't ready for them to know. That's a whole nother conversation. The school, I mean to tell you, they're full of, I'm gonna leave that one alone, man. But it's a shame, man. It's a shame what the schools are trying to teach our kids. And so we have got to be, and that's another reason why.
Exactly, that you need to have that talk.
You need to have that talk.
For sure. And unfortunately for you, that you was waiting for the right time, which you do need to wait to the right time before you introduce, certain things to your kids. But then they beat you to the fact of telling them, which really that sucks.
It does, because a lot of times, like I said, man, they have their agendas, and I believe that we have this whole alternative lifestyle agenda and things of that nature that a lot of these educators are pushing, and they're pushing it because that's what they're involved in, that's what they believe, so on and so forth.
Right.
And so yeah, man, so we have to be very, very careful.
Got to.
Okay, Mrs. Maxwell in the building. That's who we got there. All right, let's see here.
We lost.
Yeah.
Can you guys see us or no?
No, but I'm sure they can still
hear
us. Not really sure why this is doing this. Let me see if I can fix this, guys. We're actually going to be getting ready to wrap it up here in just a moment anyway. Let's see.
I'm a volunteer at the pregnancy center, and they want you to talk to your children as soon as you can because they see it all.
Okay, they want you to talk to your children as soon as you can because, okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the other thing that we have to realize is that we look, it is what it is, we had the little bitty magazines, right? And it's hard to hide a magazine from a mama who in all your stuff.
Dude, they ain't doing no magazine these days.
Case in point.
That's what this right here.
That's what I'm saying.
Is a magazine. Everything they need to know is on here.
And guess who put that in their hand and gave them a data thing? Their mama and their daddy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because here, take your phone and go on the internet and play video games, do whatever, so I don't have to parent you. Let the phone parent you, and now they have access to all kind of stuff.
Everything. And even if they're not looking up something, right? Then a commercial or something come on. Oh, then you kind of press on it, and then next thing you know, you're seeing stuff that you ain't supposed to be seeing.
Yep.
So that's just how it works.
And before you know it, here you go. Your child is dealing with all kind of things, and here you are still back in the 60s, thinking they don't know what getting hard is or something like that. And it's happening to them every morning. Little boy trying to figure out what
exactly
what's going on down there.
Exactly.
And so we got to have these kind of conversations. We got to have these kind of conversations. So Again, we're not going to stay too much longer. Any other questions? Anything you got to say?
Too much access.
That part right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we saw that together.
Absolutely.
That is so true. Too much access. But again, we give our kids phones.
And we're basically talking more about kids and than this whole marriage thing, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Because once you married and if you have kids, it's all in the family.
Yeah.
It's all in the family that we need to educate and to make sure they know, the right way that you can explain to them, not the school telling them some bootleg way or what they think, should go. But yeah.
Willie, what's going on, brother? He said we have books and magazines, and if we were speaking of a VH tape, these kids now have these phones that can tell them whatever they need.
Whatever they want.
But show
them.
Oh my goodness.
Show them.
Don't bring out the VH tapes. My goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna leave that alone. But true story. And now they got these phones, man, and they can just, and half of them know how to work them better than we do. Commercials, movies, cartoons.
Oh, let's not talk about them cartoons. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Or the commercials.
I don't even know if there's too much commercials, but them cartoons they'd be putting them little.
They use boobs to sell hamburgers. You going to Burger King, you looking for some tatas, ladies, for some tater tots.
Yeah.
If you go
everywhere.
And
Absolutely.
so, we are literally being inundated with all kind of sexual innuendos and persuasions and traps and all kind of things, man. And Google and Twitter, that part right there. So we have to be careful, man. I think that we need to have some more conversation and dialogue around this.
We definitely do, because we haven't even touched on the marriage aspects of it. Like a little bit we did, as far as, if a person, sexual brought up or whatever you want to call it, in their lives, and how one spouse may be and another person is, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, because that's definitely serious conversation and serious topics. And I think that if we don't have that conversation, it could open the door for so many other potential problems in one's marriage, And
Any more questions? I guess we're getting ready to wrap this up.
Yeah, we're getting ready to wrap it up. But in the meantime and in between time, I'm going to tell you, practice makes perfect. So, if
you married, so we're not going to let nobody think that we spurting things there. If you married.
Yeah. Now, what you do is what you do, but we believe that sex is something that is reserved for the covenant relationship between man and woman in the confines of their marriage. I also think that it is something that should not be aired publicly. Your sex life. Okay. Sex life. Yeah. Nobody at the tennis club should be knowing what my wife's favorite position is. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
That's just not conversation to be had with any and everybody. And but again, for those of us who are married, enjoy it. Practice makes perfect. Talk about it, conversate, but also be considerate. I think another thing, and we really do have to go, but I think another problem that we have is we have brothers and sisters, for that matter, who been burning, their flesh been burning, and they finally get married, and now they use their wife like a $2 hooker, and a wife is more than just a sex object. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
For real, it's more. She's more than just a sex object. And you know what? Truth of the matter is, sometimes it's in reverse. Sometimes women, depending on what your drive and everything is, might, look at that man as just, but it's more than just that. So we have to be considerate one of another, and we got to have the conversation so that we can understand how and why we need to be considerate. Does that make any sense?
Oh, it makes absolute sense. And just like Sister Maxwell said, her husband was church and I wasn't, so I came into the church not knowing that sex was sin before marriage.
Right.
And
a lot of people
exactly, absolutely. I didn't know.
Right.
didn't know until you think you'd be like, what? Wait, what? Okay. So something, and then it wasn't discussed. All you heard it was just it's a sin. It just was not discussed to say, hey, it's a covenant and all the good stuff that goes along with it.
So again, I do apologize for the technical difficulties that are, plaguing us on tonight. But we'll just throw that little graphic up there for you guys to enjoy while we get ready to bring this topic to a close on tonight. We do want to invite you to be with us again on next week.
Are we? Easter Sunday?
No, not next week. Not next week. Nah. So y'all gonna have to hold on to that until the following Sunday. How about that? Yeah. I would like to say congratulations to my son and my future daughter-in-law. They are getting ready to tie the knot on the 28th of this month. So all of you lovebirds that are out there in social media world that's hearing this broadcast, we ask that you would keep them in your prayers as they have made this decision to join together in holy matrimony.
And the two shall become one.
Two shall become one. That part right there. Wives are more than just a sex object. Husbands are more than just a sex object. It is indeed. But let me tell you this. Folks. If you talk about it, and if you learn each other properly, my goodness, the boom boom room is open for business. Y'all don't pay me no mind. But I am telling you the truth, man. Get your boom boom game up. Yeah. So that way you can really enjoy each other the way God intended for us to enjoy each other. Okay, and that way we would not be a bad example as to what marriage is. I mean to tell you, when young folks see see you guys out and about, they ought to say, "Man, I can't wait to get married." Versus, "Man, I ain't never gonna get married."
Right. Right.
And so just in case you say, "Well, man, my marriage ain't there," well, it can get there.
Right.
And I'm a living witness that it can, and I want to encourage you to work on your marriage. Again, as my wife just quoted, "Who God has joined together, let no man put." Excuse me. Well, that one is facts too, but
right.
She said, "The two shall
become one flesh." Yeah.
And God knew what He was doing when He instituted marriage. Okay. Case in point, He saw Adam, and Adam's countenance was down. He said, "Man, it's not good for man to dwell alone." So He put him to sleep, and out of his side came. He took a rib and created Eve. Okay. And
it came out of their flesh, right?
Huh?
And it came out of his flesh, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the two shall become one flesh, right?
Shall become one. Did I stutter?
Shall become one flesh.
Yeah, shall become one flesh.
Still on that flesh thing, but that's all right though. To be continued.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
To be continued. Congratulations, Shaquan. Yes. And thank you, Tamara. Thank you guys for tuning in.
And so with that said and done, I'm a firm believer that you should practice what you preach. And so I got up here and I've done some heavy preaching. And so my goal is to become this woman's sex object tonight. You hear what I'm telling you?
Knock it off. Bless them, Lord. Bless them.
Oh my goodness, I'm telling you, God is good all the time and all the time.
But like we said before.
Yeah, change the subject.
No, we're not changing the subject.
No,
happy spouse, happy house.
Happy spouse.
So I'm going to keep them happy.
Happy house. So ladies and gentlemen, that's it for tonight. Be sure to join us, not next week. Next week it's Easter. But the following Sunday, we'll get back up here. We've been talking about possibly changing the time. We'll see how that goes. But we'll certainly notify you and let you know. If you guys have not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, Sheldon and Shelly, please do so. And also, if you're not a part of the What's Love group here on Facebook, go ahead and hit that join button and interact in the conversations and things like that, the different posts that go up.
Absolutely. Put your anniversaries. Put your
anniversaries.
Yeah.
All that good stuff. And share your testimonies. All right?
All right, guys. Y'all have a great night.
And we will see you guys on the next go round. God bless you and heaven smile on you. And oh yeah, remember, the Boom Boom Room is open for business.